See if you can spot the toxic phrase here, okay? You and I are eating lunch at Olive Garden with a few friends, just goofing around. We're in the middle of the unlimited soup and breadsticks. And I look at your plate and I say, hey, you've eaten like 3 people's worth of breadsticks today. Immediately the group goes quiet. You look a little hurt, it seems like my joke struck a nerve, and I honestly didn't mean it to. Hey, I'm sorry man, I was just joking. Can't you take a joke? That's toxic phrase number 1 in this video. Can't you take a joke? My intention was, hey, I didn't mean it like that, but my impact was, hey, your hurt doesn't matter and you're weak for feeling hurt in the first place. So today we're looking at the psychology of this one and 2 more toxic phrases that we use every day, and an alternative for each one so that we can be the friend, partner, and person that we want to be. If you're new here, I'm Sanjeev, a cognitive scientist looking for ways to connect a little deeper with the people in our lives. Let's jump right in. Can't you take a joke is the same as phrases like you're too sensitive, you're overreacting. This is a family of phrases that frame pain as a weakness. Each of these phrases is me deciding how hurt you're allowed to be. And relationship expert Rachel D'Alto explains that by labeling your feelings as weak and irrational, I'm discouraging you from ever bringing them up again in the future. And that's bad. In case that wasn't clear. So what can we say instead? Well, whatever we say needs to do 2 things. It needs to acknowledge that we hurt the other person and apologize for it. So an alternative phrase that does both would be like, hey, it seems like what I said struck a nerve and I'm really sorry, I didn't mean it like that. This leaves the door open for a discussion about why our comment struck a nerve in the first place, so that we can make sure we don't ever cross that line again. Now we're driving home from Olive Garden. Okay, we're so full because of the breadsticks, but it's a tense car ride because of the joke I made. And after a long silence, you bring up my joke and how it hurts you, and I say, hey, I'm really sorry man, I didn't mean it like that, like we just learned. And you're still mad, you feel like we haven't finished discussing this yet, but you hit me with toxic phrase number 2, whatever. Ouch. Whatever goes with phrases like, just forget about it, or even, it's fine, I'm fine. This is a family of phrases that shuts down communication. Harvard psychologist Courtney Warren explains that this type of passive-aggressive language leaves the issues unresolved and denies the other person any chance to figure out what's actually going on. And these unresolved issues are extremely dangerous, right? Because they can build up over time as resentment, slowly poisoning our relationships from the inside. So what can we say instead? Well, these phrases typically appear when the environment isn't right for a discussion, right? Maybe we're on a time crunch, maybe we're in a group setting, or maybe we're just both in our emotions and can't think straight right now. So our alternative needs to communicate, hey, this isn't over, along with a promise to resolve it at a later time. So an alternative that does both would be like, okay, to be honest, I don't feel like we've addressed this yet, but also I don't think we're understanding each other right now, so could we sit down and talk about this more tonight? That was long, I know, but this clearly states that we're still hurt and that we want to make time to resolve this later, right? It takes us from being on opposing sides to being on the same side of the problem, tackling it together. A few hours have passed and we've reached tonight. We're skipping dinner because I told you about the breadsticks. This is like an Olive Garden ad, jeez. Well, since it's nighttime, we've restarted our discussion about my joke, but we keep disagreeing, you're getting pretty angry, and I hit you with toxic phrase number 3, calm down. Oof, you felt that, even through the screen. Calm down, and other phrases like, you'll get over it, it's not that deep. This is a family of phrases that minimize pain. Psychologist Lisa Marie Bobby explains that this is a process called trivializing. I'm invalidating your emotions and also saying that I'm not willing to understand them. Dr. Bobby adds that just because you're experiencing a feeling that I'm not, does not mean that you're wrong, right? Again, that's me imposing my worldview of what a real problem is. So what should we say instead? Well, this one's a little complicated because the opposite of trivializing is empathy. And empathy is different depending on the situation. If someone shared an issue with us that's stressing them out, instead of saying, you'll get over it, we can say, oh, that sucks, that sounds frustrating, I'd feel the same if I was in your position, right? These are all phrases that validate the emotion. And we can also say, I'm here for you, let's tackle this together to show support. And it's the same if someone has an issue with us, right? Instead of saying, it's not that deep, we can say, oh, I understand where you're coming from. I get that you're frustrated, let's talk about this, right? And all these phrases are independent of who's in the right or wrong. And finally, when someone's explaining why they're mad at us, instead of saying calm down, we can shut up and listen. It's what the science says. As we talked about these toxic phrases, you might have thought, okay, I haven't said this, but I know someone who said it to me. And look, using a toxic phrase doesn't automatically make someone a toxic friend, right? But it could be a warning sign. So I've broken down 5 kinds of toxic friends and the warning signs for each one in this video. so that we'll know when these toxic phrases turn into red flags. We'll talk soon.